shit. Here we go again.
Low, low, man. Low, low,
You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up. Look, here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Andrew Esquire. I'm with the Legal Minds, where we teach you to be your own judge. Welcome. We're still here in Korea. We've got the cam working right now, tracking me around. Actually, it was kind of cool. It was tracking me when I was getting water from the fridge. I just got up and I'm like, oh, it's stalking me as I stand up. But it's good to see everybody here today. On this episode, we're going to have a good one. And this is a topic that many people have asked about. We're going to have two main topics. The first one is about the alleged mail theft. Crunchyroll, David Wald. There's a lot of allegations rolling around right now about this. I've had multiple people ask me about this. So I want to explain what mail fraud is. Excuse me, not even beyond mail fraud, obstruction of the delivery of mail, which is really the thing that we're going to talk about today. Specific, there's a very specific provision. So we're going to go through that. It's federal law and how to avoid messing with that. Right. But we're going to get over, is this specific scenario a felony or not? Because a lot of people are running out there and saying this is a U.S. felony. This is a huge crime. Well, hold on there, bucko, because there's a lot more nuance to this. It's not as simple as people are making it sound, although I know people are rightly concerned about this. And, maybe not everyone's going to be happy with my assessment of it, but I'm going to give you the facts based on my intense experience with this area, particularly with businesses. So with businesses, actually, I have a lot of experience with this particular thing. So we'll talk about it. Next, after that, we're going to also talk about the Corporation FTC, their Japan's Fair Trade Commission, and their crackdown on Corporation and Corporation's admission that, hey, yeah, we fucked up. We made a mistake. And coming out there and saying it and why I think that's a good thing. I want to talk about what that means for the industry. I think it's a really positive thing and in many ways. And I want to get into that as we go ahead because I think this actually signals turning a corner in what is an industry that has been largely unregulated and has largely skirted under the nose of a lot of regulation laws. Because frankly, one of the reasons why I cover this stuff is to bring more attention to it, and it seems like it's getting there. So that's the second topic for today. And then I've got a really degenerate video that somebody sent me involving Mitchie and Project Melody. So we'll watch that to close out the day. So we have a nice little rounded program for you. I'm still trying to get my sleep schedule back to normal after my trial streaming. So as you guys know, was up all night streaming Sarah Boone. We thank you everybody who was there watching that. That was a fantastic journey. I look forward to my future trial streams. I had such a fantastic time doing it with all you guys and having guests on like Ava, like Sparky, like Junie, like Rima. We had tons of folks on. It was great. Cypher. Legally Dirty Blonde, a lot of other people on the channel, and it was really fun experience. It was great. It was positive. So I was really happy to do that, and I'm glad that so many of you were able to join and have fun with me on that, even if that isn't necessarily your favorite topic or what you guys primarily tune into me to watch. I'm really glad it went well. So yeah. And let me get this real quick. Artemis says, I opened my wife's mail because she never does. Yeah, that's going to be fine, right? Your wife is not going to really have much of a claim against you for opening her mail, but it's all good there. And then we'll get into, so let's see here. The poll, so far we have 300 people here, almost 400. And of those, 240 have voted, and 70% have never opened anybody else's mail. while we have 30% that indeed has opened somebody else's mail. Of course, I am reporting all of those 30% to the FBI. So please expect the FBI open up. I think that's going to be happening very, very soon for you guys.
No! No!
Also, speaking of yes, thank you, JP Raven.
Yes! Yes!
For supporting me here with 5 Legal Mindset memberships. If you receive any gifts, please say thank you to JP. Also, a secondary thank you to JP, as well as all those others that helped me with getting my Ko-Fi up to 100%. So thank you guys for making that next milestone. And, after this, especially when I start playing around with other stuff, it's going to really be going towards my VTubing future, right? So I am slowly putting the elements together there to make this happen. So we're looking at a very accelerated timeline. I was thinking when I hit 200K subs, but I think we'll get it before then. So we're on that track. Also, I do agree with Alicia. What's up? My favorite artistic cow. Right? There's only so many. Look, I only like so many cows and I only like so many artists. But when somebody is a combination of two things, it's a magical moment. So appreciate that, Alicia. Hope you're doing well. I always love watching her streams. They're very relaxing for me. I'll put on an Alicia stream and I'll just I'll be like sitting in bed, like making my plan for the next day, watching Alicia or having her on in the background. Very calming. It's very zen for me. So it's good to see her over there, especially when I'm being made into a banana in the middle of the night. That's always fun for me. Also, Gunner said the U.S. Postal Service has enforcement officers. Yes, don't fuck with the Postal Service. Also, Mr. Man gifted 5 illegal mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Woof.
Appreciate it. Thank you much, Mr. Man. Thank you. Also, thank you to those that sent me clips. Oh, I have a new one. I have to upload it. Hold on, let me upload it right now. This is one that was sent to me. Now, there were 4 sent to me by this person, but I selected the best one, which is probably the one that I'm going to end up using, I think, the most, which is this one.
I don't care. No one asked, bro. No one asked.
No one asked, bro. No one asked. And I really don't care. LJ O'Rourke for 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Okay, this is even better. We got to do one. We got to up the ante on this one. Let's get some Pippa feeding.
Oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, LJ. Appreciate your support of the channel. Thank you guys for really helping me out and really helping support the channel. And if you receive one of these, please say thank you. We're definitely going to need some updated emojis, and I'm already thinking about the next queue of emojis to come through. So really appreciate that. Shy Lily meme. Yeah, no, I want to diversify because I had a lot of Shondo, but now we're diversifying our palette here, right? We're really expanding. We're becoming more enlightened. We're becoming better people that are more embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Excuse me, sir. What is your ethnicity? I am interested in calling you a slur.
Okay. All right. Let's without further ado and me getting in deep trouble. Let's go over and figuring out what's going on with Mr. David Wald. So here is the issue that everybody is talking about. And this is the tweet that had 4.8 million views. Everybody's messaging me about this. And this is where it started. Started with David Wald. Now, David Wald is a voice actor who worked at one point for Crunchyroll / Funimation. So he says, "Dear friends, if you sent me anything, care of Funimation or Crunchyroll in the past 5 years, I apologize. I did not get it. I learned yesterday that Crunchyroll opened my private mail," and we're going to put a pin in this where I'm just going to read it, but private, we're going to underline that, "threw away your letters and passed out included items to their staff." Now, from what I understand, and also in the VTubing world, I understand there's other corporations that may be doing this. For example, I have heard a lot of allegations on this happening at Niji Sanji, right? With Niji creators not getting what they their fan mail. I've heard this with other places as well. I've also dealt with a lot of corporations that when somebody quits or they gives notice to quit, they don't give them anything else. So if they were going to receive something and it came in, let's say it was a goodbye gift, right? They didn't get that gift. That is something I have heard commonly, and it's not just in the US. I've heard that in other countries as well. So this is something that is a little bit of an international issue. And let me just come right off and say it, because I'm going to explain to you guys the law in the United States. This is not the law necessarily in Japan. So Niji simps out there, the Fujos out there that are watching, listen, Niji's another day, right? We're going to talk about U.S. law, what would apply to a Crunchyroll or Funimation or a corporation operating in America and with U.S. mail. But regardless of whether or not this is illegal, and we're going to get into the legalities of it and really explain it, because a lot of people on the internet don't understand this at all. And fortunately, your boy may or may not have written some policies regarding this and may or may not know a thing or two about this, this specific topic. So this is fucked up morally. So regardless of what I'm going to say about the law, this is a morally fucked up thing to do, right? So let's start with that, right? It's wrong, right? Now, sometimes things that are wrong are not illegal, but is it morally wrong? Yes. Okay, so we'll start with that and just get that out of the way. It is morally wrong for a corporation, when somebody sent mail, especially if it's marked as personal or marked as even confidential, right, to get that mail opened, right? That's morally wrong. Now, is it legally wrong? That's a big question mark. We're going to answer that. Beardo's skid marked Batman under roofs for $5 says, just coming in, did you see the Nick and April spurging out on Twitter about an hour ago? I've seen some of it. People have forwarded to me. It seems like the guy's off his meds, but that's par for the course with Pope Nick, the rackets, the rail king. Whether or not you're high or coming down or whatever else it is, with someone who's a substance abuser, you can expect erratic behavior, and it's erratic behavior from a drug addict. Shocker, right? Shocker! A drug addict is acting erratic. Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh god, that's crazy. That's insane that a drug addict is acting crazy. All right, so. Here's the allegation, the first allegation, and then David Wald, the voice actor, goes on to give us some examples. So he goes on to give an example of something that he did not receive. Where is it? Right here. So he says right here, dear fellow workers at Crunchyroll, below is a photo of the complete contents of one of the packages addressed to me that was opened and distributed to employees. If you ended up in possession of any of it, I would very much like it returned to me. So this was something that was opened. It was addressed to him, and it was opened and I guess passed around like a cup of pink lemonade. And somebody else received these kind of spicy little yaoi photos over here, right? He was getting a lot of, I guess he was, yaoing it up. I guess I should ask another poll, because this is of course a very degenerate chat. Have you been mailed yaoi / boys love in the mail? Boys love materials in the mail. So yes or no? I'll say yes, no, and only from Vox. Okay, got it. All right, there you go. I'll give you a third option. Okay. So clearly there was the heist of this information, a heist of this artwork, which quickly was taken to the bathroom, and the staff at Funimation and Crunchyroll proceeded to goon furiously to this material immediately upon it being misappropriated, right? But was it misappropriated? Let's get to the law, shall we? So everybody knows this is federal law. This is not state law. It's federal law. So therefore, it's at a different level. Now, there are state laws that can relate to mail, but typically it's within the province of the federal government. And specifically, it falls under 18 USC 1702. And 18 1702 is in the mail statute. It's, a lot of statutes related to the post, but the specific one is under 1872. 18 USC, US Code 1702, is obstruction of correspondence. So here's the language of obstruction of correspondence, okay? Whoever takes any letter, postal card, or package out of any postal office or any authorized depository for mail matter or for any letter or mail carrier, or which has been in any post office or authorized depository or in the custody of any letter or mail carrier before it has been delivered to the person to whom it was directed with design to obstruct the correspondence or to pry into the business or secrets of another, or opens, secretes, I love the word secrete, embezzles, or destroys the same, shall be fined under this title and imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So you can be imprisoned multiple years for this specific violation. Now, off the top of your head, and what's up, Ava? Good to see you. Good to see you. My favorite elf co-streamer. Appreciate you. So when you look at this and you look at what happened to David Wald, I think most people off the top of their head would think that this was violated because they would look at it and say, well, this is a situation where, there was a letter or postcard or package, right? So some of them were letters, some of them were packages, some of them were probably postcards too. And it was not given to him. And because it was not given to him, they're guilty of this crime. It's not that simple. Because the thing is that the law is not just exactly how it's written, it's how things are interpreted and how the judges have applied the case law and the interpretations of what the words mean. So courts have gone into these words and said, what do they mean? They don't mean what you think they mean. And there's two things. First of all, the main word here is actually not person, because person is, remember, corporations are people too, right? The main word here is actually delivered. And when mail has been delivered, okay? So this only applies to mail that is opened before it's been delivered. Once it's delivered, they have no responsibility for who opens it after it's delivered. So are you seeing where this is going? I think some of the smarter people in the chat are seeing where this is going. Once it's delivered, so it's opened, hands off. Here's how courts have defined this. Courts have looked at this and said, if it gets to the address where it's supposed to go, that's delivered. It's not the post office. Here's why. The post office cannot control people. When mail is delivered, the post office has no idea whether or not that person is actually there or not. The only thing they can do is say, oh, it was delivered to this address. They don't know whether the person whose name on it, and that person could be Santa Claus, that person could be, the Grinch, whoever else, right? Because there's letters addressed to Santa Claus, the Grinch, whatever. Somebody opens that. Well, all that matters is where is it delivered? Was it delivered to that specific address? That's what they care about. And courts have refused to hold people liable for opening mail that's at that address to which it's been delivered. The person, right, is implied to be the business entity or whatever other thing, whatever it was delivered to as an address. So in a corporate context, this person was working as an employee of Crunchyroll and Funimation. So long as the address was Crunchyroll or Funimation, they're not going to hold them liable. And here's what's even more crazy. And I've looked into this. Even if the mail is marked personal, and sometimes even if it's marked confidential, they can open it as a business. Let me say that once again. Let's say you receive a letter to your business address, and your boss decides to open a personal letter to you, but it was delivered to the business address. The courts are not really going to hold them liable. They're not going to hold them liable, even if it's marked personal. Now, confidential, I want to put a little asterisk, because if it's confidential, there are certain circumstances, like, for example, if it's attorney mail, right, where there might be other things at play, other regulations at play. But just if it's Joe Schmo, regular employee, and a voice actor is not a person in a position of confidence, not a doctor or a lawyer or somebody else, there's no medical privacy, stuff like that, they're not going to hold them liable. And here's the next thing. I guarantee you, why? Because I wrote these things, that there is a policy, one of those hundreds of pages of policies, which most people don't read, because just like that human centipede episode of South Park, it can't read, right? It's interesting because the policies will say that that they can open the mail, right? They can open the mail. And they're going to warn you, hey, if you get something sent to the job, we have permission to open it. That's for liability purposes. So they're going to cover their ass on that. So they're double covered. Number one, courts are going to interpret it that way. Number two, you signed off on it and you've approved it. And I guarantee you David Wald approved it. Now, does that make it good? No. But is that the law and the way it's enforced? Yes. It's unfortunate. And, that's part of my channel, guys. Sometimes people don't want to hear it. And certainly people want me to say they committed a felony and Crunchyroll and Funimation need to all be locked up. And look, listen, I'm no fan of Crunchyroll and Funimation for separate reasons. But I'm going to be honest with you about the law and where there's a shot and where there's not a shot, right? So just being like, but this is what happens. And this is exactly why, if you have personal mail, do not get it sent to your company, period. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it, because they can open your mail. Let's get these questions here. Not sent me for 10 pounds. Thank you. So speaking of mail, U.S. Postal Service vehicles are made by Northrop Grumman, same people who made the B-2 stealth bomber. Both deliver stuff. Just one president initially, the other's domestic. Internationally, the other's domestic. Yes, delivering some international packages that may or may not be explosives. Kefid 2317 says it's almost a guarantee that people who are responsible for this are early to mid 20s. Anyone older would know better. Envelope mail has been dying out for decades. Yeah. But this is just another nail in the coffin. And this is just why you should try to reach out to that person to say, hey, do you have a P.O. box? Do you have somewhere else I can send it? Can I send you personal mail? Right? I get that you don't want to receive stuff at your house. Maybe you pick a P.O. box or a secondary location. But be very, very careful. Very, very careful. All right. That's what it is. Someone's like, can I give out your mail? Yeah, sure. Because it's been delivered to the address. So if somebody at your business, right, they're at the business to which it was addressed, right, it's been delivered to that business, decides to open it and distribute it. Now here's what you might have against them. Maybe you have some sort of employment claim, right? You might have some sort of employment claim, or you might be able to report them to like some sort of labor industry, right? There might be some sort of labor regulation that would apply. But are they going to be hit on a federal felony by a federal criminal prosecutor? No, right? That's different. All right. That is the mail. And that's the kind of unfortunate truth there, right? The unfortunate truth. Let's see. Gunner says federal mail theft is one thing, but what about simple larceny under state law or tort? That's not how it's going to see. State laws don't apply to businesses. There's no state law that would prevent that. I've done a 50-state search. There's no, as far as unless the laws change the last year or two. 3 years ago, I did a search on this. There's no state statute that's going to prevent a business from opening up the mail of an employee Granted, it's not protected by HIPAA. It's not some sort of confidential attorney-client stuff, whatever. There's some exceptions. But for general employees, right? General employees, a voice actor at Crunchyroll specifically, right? No state law is going to protect a voice actor at Crunchyroll. We'll be very specific about that. Tatsumi says, both have delivered explosive. Thanks, Ted Kaczynski. Oh, no, Ted. Why'd you do it, Ted? Ted. Oyamada said, what will the person do if a large or heavy package was sent to the wrong address? Are we supposed to hold it for the post offices and reclaim it? Now, that's this whole separate issue, right? That's separate. So if it's sent to the wrong address, well, if you were to open it, you wouldn't be at fault. Like, let's say the package was labeled to you, and you opened it, well, it's labeled to that address, right? Labeled to your address. You're not going to be held criminally liable because you opened a package that was delivered to you. Now, if you need it to be returned, that's a matter of the policies of whether it's the post office or whatever the parcel service is. But as far as I'm aware, you can get those recalled. But once again, that's a policy issue. That's not a legal issue in terms of obstruction of the mail. Align 87 says, as a letter carrier, I've lost account on the number of people I've told not to have personal packages delivered to the place they work if they don't want to risk someone opening up. Exactly. And that's a reality. Like, and once again, I am sympathetic to David. I'm not unsympathetic to him. It's fucked up what they did. It's not right. They're pieces of shit. I could have told you that Crunchyroll and Funimation were pieces of shit, though, for separate reasons, right? For wholly separate reasons. But yeah, you don't want to send anything to your place of work, right? Period. You know, you'd be better off sending it to your attorney's office. Much better. Let's see here. Locals is flipping out over boys love yaoi bait. Okay, cool. By the way, the poll says, have you been mailed boys love yaoi? 5% say yes. So 75% say no. So 75% are lying. And 20% say only from Vox. Only from Vox. So only 25% of you are telling the truth. The rest of you are full shit. I know it. I know my chat. Listen, I know my chat. And I know you guys. And it's okay. I know that you're...
Degenerates. You guys degenerates.
A Gunner says at work, we made all the employees sign a form saying they know their email is company property. Same with YouTube and the company account. Yes, these are catch-all provisions that are in the policies. You have an email policy. You have a package policy. You've got all these policies and you just don't know. You sign them and you're like, oh, I have a job. I'm making $10 an hour. Yeah. And you're signing all your rights away, essentially. Not that this would have been a problem even if there wasn't that policy, but the policy is what we like to call belt and suspenders. It protects you despite the fact that the court says we can do it. We want to disclose and tell you, but at the end of the day, you don't understand what these policies are actually taking away from you. I actually think that they should be required, right? One of the things I think would be smart is if corporations had to give you a bullet point list, like summarizing what the changes were, and then you got the full package of policies. So you could go into the policy and search, but you get like a abbreviated list, like a summary, like this is what you're giving up, right? And it's in one page, because you can do that. You can just summarize, like all your emails are belong to us. All your packages are belong to us, right? That would be fucking nice. Giro Clegane says it's a federal claim to open others' mail. Yes, if before it's delivered. If you're breaking into a mailbox, sure, yeah. But once it's been delivered to that address, once somebody from that business has opened it up, that's the way it is. That's just how it works. It's not somebody else's because it's been delivered to that address, right? Cool. Let's see here. Shane of the Red. So let me get this straight. If Crunchyroll was caught not only opening the mail, but stealing the content, it's probably legal because TOS? No, not TOS. For two reasons, Shayna. Let me repeat this. Number one, because that's how the law works. It was delivered to Crunchyroll, the address of Crunchyroll, and that's all that is legally required. That's number one. So they can open it. They can do whatever they want. It's delivered to that address. Right? Number two, because it's part of their policies. They've got policies which would cover them from any probably collateral claims. So, for example, the distribution, the handing it out, all the other stuff, he doesn't have a case. If he was to bring this to a lawyer, they wouldn't take it, right? They wouldn't take it. He can't sue. And he won't, right? You watch. This guy's not going to sue. He's not going to bring any claim. There's no claim. right? He would go to a lawyer and the lawyer would say there's no claim, right? State law, federal law, no claim. Doesn't make it right, but it's fucked up. Maybe the law should change, but that's the way the law is, right? That's the way the law is. So, yeah. Anthony says, I only want legal mindset, Yowie. I mean, I don't know what.
No, don't do it!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah, that's appropriate. Wolfenving says, only the best goods from Vox. Only the best things. Got that one already. I think I got this one. 15 Corona said, at work, we made the employees sign a form saying they knew the email is company property. Same with YouTube. Oh, yeah, I got that one. Elaine says, also fun fact, UPS and FedEx don't require a warrant to search packages in their possession. There we go. There we go. Jordan Jordan Brown 5 says, unless you consider mailers about Jay Inslee and Patty Murray counting as such, then no, I haven't been sent out Yowie or Yuri by mail. Yeah, exactly. All right, next topic. Let's get to Cover Corporation. They got a little bit of spicy trouble. So the Japanese FTC. The Japanese FTC. Let's talk about this. Fucking dropping this banger here. So obviously it's in Japanese, but here's a little translation. Recreating content violates the Subcontract Act. Cover Corporation had subcontractors who were outsourced to create illustrations and other materials used in VTuber videos and the like, redo the work free of charge, even though the subcontractors were not responsible. For this reason, we issued a recommendation to the company based on the Subcontract Act. So they literally got caught red-handed by the Japanese FTC violating the Subcontract Act. Now, before we get into what they responded, let's talk about what this means, because I want to give some law background before we get into what they said. What does this mean? Okay. What is the Subcontract Act? Okay. So let's get into, there's a very good explanation right here of what the Subcontract Act is. And actually, this is a very interesting act. We don't have this in the US, right? So the Subcontract Act, and I'll pop down here so you can see this a little bit better. But it is a Japanese act that is designed to curb the abusive practices of main subcontracting entrepreneurs. And don't let this confuse you. This really means corporations, right? So corporations who often have a stronger bargaining position and to protect subcontractors. For example, a main contracting entrepreneur reducing a subcontracting fee without a valid reason after placing an order would be a violation of the act. So what type of things are covered? Well, they're covering the main obligations of issuing documentation, orders, having a payment deadline. So you have to set a deadline and you have to pay by that deadline. This is a big one, right? There's a default of 60 days. This is actually true in the U.S. for government subcontractors. There's a payment deadline. There's also other deadlines that are prescribed by law. There's an obligation to create documents, to paper things. And there's an obligation to pay interest on late payments at 14.6% annual interest on any late payments. So, you've got a fairly stiff more than inflation for late payments, which is significant. So what's prohibited? Refusing to accept deliverables. So refusing to accept something that's delivered by the subcontractor when the subcontractor is not at fault, right? So in this case, a supermarket citing excess inventory cancels and refuses to receive a portion of ordered goods, right? So let's say they ordered some beef and they refuse to take it. That would be a violation. Delaying payment of subcontracting fees. So failing to pay by the deadline. Reducing the fees. So reducing the fees when the subcontractor is not at fault. So for example, a video game company outsources creation of character designs and later reduces its agreed subcontracting fee, citing a decrease in their budget. Well, it doesn't matter whether the manufacturer's budget decreased. All that matters is you agreed to produce them for X rate. You can't fuck them over like that. Returning received items when the subcontractor is not at fault. Right? So unless there's something wrong, you can't return them. Abusive bargaining power. So by unjustifiably setting the fees lower than similar the going rate. Forcing purchase or use of certain specified goods or services without a just cause. So, for example, pressing a subcontractor to buy products from the actual company, right? So, for example, this is like the companies that want you to buy their own equipment. Retaliatory measures. So, punishing a subcontractor unfairly. Forcing to have early payment for material costs. Issuing promissory notes that are difficult to discount. Requests for the provision of undue financial benefits. So requesting that they give you any sort of money, services, or anything else that is kind of to support the project. And unjust changes to the contents of deliverables and unfair requests for revisions. So those are all illegal under the Subcontract Act. Now, here's the thing. Until recently, freelancers have been a gray area, and we've talked about this. So freelancers are kind of not necessarily subcontractors. They're kind of like these independent contractors. You're a gig worker. So freelancers have been growing. Currently, about 3 to 4% of the Japanese economy is freelancers. Now, you may think, oh my God, Andrew, are you fucking serious? 3 to 4%? That's actually a lot of the entire economy. That's actually a significant amount of an entire economy. So they're saying, look, you're 4% of the economy. There's something that is a growing number of people, and it's getting more and more and more, especially since the number of freelancers is often underreported. So it's probably 50% more than that, just based on people that aren't reporting, right? And saying, hey, I'm a freelancer, I'm doing gig work, etc. I know a lot of people are doing gig work and they keep it on the low because they don't want to pay taxes on it, right? But those are the freelancers that are out there paying taxes on their stuff, like reporting themselves as freelancer. And I'm not talking about being a hooker, right? I'm talking about like gig work. Okay. So I know what you guys are thinking, because you guys in the chat, you guys are frankly,
Disgusting.
we're not talking about, anyways. Not that type of under the table freelancing. Come on, bro. Not feet models, right? All right. So these freelancers were kind of in this gray area, and a lot of people were getting away with abusing these freelancers. Well, they passed something called the Freelance Act, and that's going into effect this year in November 2024, which is just now. And the basic provisions of the Freelance Act expand upon payments to freelancers. So they establish a obligation to pay within a certain period of time. They prohibit late payments. They also prohibit the practice of setting subcontract proceeds at less than the ordinary price. So what this does is it fills the gap, right? So you have the Labor Standards Act, which applies to employees, but now you have the Freelance Act covering more of these self-employed persons. So now there's going to be a wider range of people protected. What does this mean? Well, this is actually massive for the VTubing industry, because so many people involved in the VTubing industry are freelancers, particularly in Japan. So a huge swath of the Japanese economy that's working as freelancers, whether it's for Cover or for Niji or for any other Japanese corporation that's doing this, is going to be forced to fall under these provisions. And because they are under these provisions, they're now going to have to start following the law, making sure they're paid on time. Remember those Doki Bird problems? Yeah, those things aren't going to be able to happen, because even if it's just an employee that's subcontracting, right, that's a freelancer that's going to fall under this, right? This is super important. The other thing this has started is a larger conversation about how freelancers may need benefits, stuff like health insurance, stuff like social insurance. So now in Japan, they're talking about, hey, maybe we need to regulate this, right? And also another thing is this act says, and this act is putting scrutiny on employees that are being passed off as freelancers. Let me say that one more time. This act is going to put extra scrutiny on employees that are being called freelancers or independent contractors. We could see in the next year a Japanese court looking at a VTuber contract and saying these people are actually employees and these people are not freelancers, they're not independent contractors, you need to give them employee benefits. It's drawing huge attention to this specific problem. This is going to put a lot of fire into these corporations, and I think that some of them may eventually even change their status and may say, nope, we're actually going to hire them as real employees, because frankly, for the amount of work that the corporate employees are doing, they should be treated as employees. I do think that they deserve to be treated as employees under the corporate arrangements of the major corporations, whether that's Cover Corporation, Nichi Sanji, any of the bigger ones. I think they are meritorious of that because of the level of control they're exerting. Now, if it's a Vishojo type situation, if it's some of the other smaller corporations, maybe not, right? Because they're not doing that much. If it's something like a Mythic, right? That's not gonna be an employee situation. But if it's something where they're controlling you to a high degree, they're going to fall under that. And the Freelancer Act puts additional scrutiny on this fact. Now, we're not there yet, but what we are at is where Cover Corporation came out and said, "Hey, we fucked up." And I want to read this admission. This is on their website, and I also tweeted this out. But we're going to read through how Cover Corporation said they messed up. But before I get into that, because we're going to get into this here 1 second, let me get these 2 super chats. Cynical Outlook for 10 said, this isn't a problem limited to Cover. Clients taking the piss when it comes to revisions. This is why a lot of freelancers now charge by the hour than by the project. I agree. And once again, let me be very clear about this. Let me be outstandingly clear. And I think I've been clear, but let me reiterate. This is not specific to Cover, right? Just because Cover is coming out and saying this, and by the way, I think this is a good thing, right? This is not a Cover problem. This is a wider problem. It's a many Japanese corporation problem. It's even an American problem. It's even a Canadian problem. Many of these corporations are not just Japanese, they're in other places too. And dealing with freelancers is going to be a huge issue, not just for one country, for people all around the world. Increasingly, people are taking location independent, remote jobs, and that's the trend, right? That's the way things are going. So Cover is just one of many, right? They happen to have done this right. And we're going to talk about that. Dulcet Tone says, what about the part Niji encouraged fan mail to be sent to Palmu for a graduation and held a hostage? Well, let me say 2 things about this. Number one, Niji is in Japan, not the US. So US law does not apply. But if I was going to pretend Niji was a US company, we're pretending now. We're in the magical land of pretend, right? The magical pretend land where Niji's in America. But even in that case, if they were treating her as a contractor or as somebody who's there, and they've had her sign away in those contracts, which we saw the contract, you sign away your firstborn child, right? They had to probably sign other policies, etc. About related to mail and other things like that, which, by the way, they actually did have in that contract. I could probably find the contract later and pull that up. I actually do believe they said specifically, we own everything that you get sent. But beyond that, if it was in America and it was addressed to the corporation and the corporation took it, nothing Palmu could do about it. Nothing Palmu can do about it. So, sucks, right? Sucks. I mean, what you can do about it is you can shame them, right? Because it's wrong, right? Messy Heels, as a new member, appreciate you, Messy Heels. Thank you so much. And appreciate all the other members out there and those that have gifted memberships. You guys are extraordinarily based. And I do this to hang out with the fun chat like you guys. Really makes my day. Really makes my whole experience, right? So thank you. All right, so let's see what Cover said, right? Because Cover came out and they responded to this. And I think they did it in a good way. I think they did it in a healthy way. Let's see. Recommendations and guidance from the Japanese Fair Trade Commission. Let's blow this up so you guys really see it. This came out the 25th. Today, Cover Corporation has received recommendations and guidance from the Japanese Fair Trade Commission based on the act against the delay in payment of subcontract proceeds. So they're coming out and saying straight up it was the lack of payment. It was a delay in payment. These recommendations have been issued as Cover was found to be in violation of provisions Article 4, Paragraph 1, delay in payment, in Article 4, Paragraph 2, prohibition of improper changes to work or rework. So they come straight out and say it. They were found in violation. They don't hide it. They don't put it anywhere else. They just say it. We would like to offer our sincerest and deepest apologies to all our contractors and related parties for any inconvenience and concern we have caused. Full stop. So apologizing straight up. The transactions subject to these recommendations are orders between April 2022 and February 2024 of information to liberals, primarily the creation of 2D, live 2D and 3D models that considerably inconvenience contractors by requesting of them an excessive number of revisions or prolonging the conclusion of projects as a result of incorrect wording in a written order specification instructions. We also sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused by payments that were not processed in due course. To provide a background of the situation, the number of transactions we were managing increased significantly due to the above period and the rapid expansion of our business, resulting in oversights and lateness when dealing with contractors and deficiencies in our internal structures and employee training. Full stop. If HoloLive, which has far less people than Niji and brings on far less than Niji, do you think that Niji is also having this problem? Abso-fucking-lutely. Right? So, but let's continue. I'm going to summarize it. We're going to go back and summarize everything, okay? Accordingly, we are making improvements in all areas, such as the hiring of staff and revisioning of workflow and transactions, as well as the reformation of internal structures, including improving internal announcements during staff training. We have already settled all late payments, late payment interest for those transactions subject to recommendations. However, we will continue to provide updates on any matters that arise in the future as soon as possible. Here at Cover, we take these recommendations very seriously and take full responsibility for our actions. I want to say right now, like that right there, once again, taking responsibility.
Hello, Beso Department.
This is something so important. It's extremely good. It should be lauded. It should be praised. Not enough people take responsibility. Many people run from responsibility. And frankly, that's something that should be praised when people actually will take responsibility nowadays, because everyone wants to say they did nothing wrong. And when you say, no, we fucked up, you fucked up, we take responsibility. That's base. That's important to do. We recognize that the new Act on Improvement and Transactions Between Freelancers and Undertakings, commonly referred to as the Freelance Act, scheduled to take effect in November 2024, we're required to have structures in place to ensure the transactions with all our creators and contractors can be conducted smoothly and carefree. Therefore, we will continue to make improvements to strengthen our compliance and prevent any reoccurrence of the aforementioned violations. In addition to complying with the laws and regulation, we intend to strengthen our internal structures and introduce preventative measures for monitoring, as well as continue to have directors and employees undergo further training. So they're saying, hey, we're taking responsibility. So let me scroll back up here. One of the important things, number one, they said what the violation was right off the bat, and they made clear it's about live 2D and 3D models. And look, I can understand how that would be a problem, because once again, when you go to do a model, that is one of the most important parts of the process of becoming a VTuber. If your model isn't exactly how you want it, well, there's going to be issues. And to be honest, they were probably trying to make the talent happy, probably trying to make the people who are going to be behind those characters happy, right? So when your Oshi is like, oh, I want this small detail, that has to go back to an artist, right? But perhaps the person, the pilot, will say, the pilot doesn't know that HoloLive is not paying them extra for those revisions, that those revisions were under the previous arrangement not being compensated for. But you've got to say, hey, look, I'm not doing revisions unless you're paying me for those revisions, right? Or you get one set of revisions and that's it. You don't get more than one, right? You use one set. You give me one email, here's your revisions, that's it. And then beyond that, you got to pay. And that's reasonable. That's reasonable. And the problem was probably workflow. I'm going to say it right now. The problem was probably workflow. It was whether it's the pilot, the manager, the middle management, the payment staff, and the subcontractors, they weren't all talking to each other directly, right? So this is where this got fucked up. This is where this was an issue. It's a very easy issue to hit with a corporation. And I can see why they got hit here and regulated. But I think this is a great thing because guess what? This is going to make sure that more people get paid on time, more people get paid correctly, and that when you are working with these companies, you're getting paid your fair share. And let me put it this way. Any artist who works with Cover Corporation and then also goes and works with Niji Sanji is not going to be willing to take this shit from Niji Sanji. So this is something that they're going to end up going and looking at these other companies and holding them to the standard. Cover Corporation is going to set the industry standard here in terms of the right behavior, the correct behavior. Had the law gone into effect? No. This is why it was a recommendation and not a fine, because it was not yet November. This was them telling them, hey, preemptively, you're going to get you violated this law, but it hasn't gone into enforcement yet. So luckily, they did this preemptively before this was something that ended up with some sort of civil or criminal penalties, right? They didn't face any fines from the government. So that was a question from Crimson Overture. Has a law gone into effect? And if it isn't, they seem to be ahead of the game. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be complying with law ahead of the game. And even if you find out, hey, we were violating that, go back and do the right thing. One joke man, nice. So it sounds like they need to go from a fixed price model to a cost plus model. Yes. The pure fixed model is not going to work for live 2D and 3D with the way that they're getting edits. So they're going to need a cost plus, right? So here's the base model. The base model with one set of revisions is $5,000, $2,000, whatever it is. And every time you do a revision beyond that one set, each revision is going to cost you however much, right? It's going to cost you $100 for every time you need to revise it. And each change, maybe each line item change is going to cost you, right? So they try to get it right on the first go. So this can help everybody. This can get everybody on the same page, right? I think it's a good thing. Once again, the other thing I've spoke about too on my channel is the VTuber industry needs more oversight. It needs more people looking at it. The best thing about this is it's getting people looking at the VTuber industry like it's a real industry, like it's not just some weird internet thing that a bunch of niche people do. They're treating it seriously. And when things get treated seriously, the laws start to catch up. This is a good sign. It's a good move in the right direction. And it's a sign that we may get better things to come in the future for this industry, which I sincerely do hope so, because I'm tired of seeing people taking advantage of willy-nilly. I really am sick of it, right? But it's here to stay. Roadtrix says, can Niji get hit by this law retroactively? Not retroactively, but going forward. So if they make a violation starting next month, Niji may get hit by it. So I think Niji may be scrambling quietly. Now, you can ask yourself, would Kuro Sanji admit they did something wrong and say, we take responsibility? No, they would blame it on the talent. They would say, somebody fucked up, right? The talent fucked up. They would pin it on the talent and say, oh, it's their fault. They try to sue the talent for the mistake. They'd pull a V and U. They would never say, oh, no, yeah, we did this wrong. No, unless it's something very, very minor. They might now, that's beforehand. They might have to do it now because Cover's done it. See, because Cover set a good example. That's the power of good examples, right? By Cover setting a good example, they may have to follow suit, right? They may be forced to do the thing. So I think good can come of this, right? I think it doesn't all have to be negativity. It certainly doesn't have to be. The only time any color apologizes to shareholders, yeah, because that's what they really care about, right? The stock price. And they've been really, really, really protective of that. Cool. Okay. Well, that was Cover Corporation. Not too bad, right? Let me get this over on locals. We had a local message over here, which was from Torgo the White. What's up, Torgo? I'm sorry, did you say gig work or giggity work? Giggity, giggity. Well, actually, speaking of giggity work, I've got a clip here from Mitchie and Melody involving cotton. But let's read this last super chat. Gunner says the Subcontractor Act has been enforced in 1956 with later revisions. It's a freelancer act that goes into effect this year. That's what I said, Gunner. Sorry if I wasn't clear. The Subcontractor Act has been enforced since 1956 in Japan. Correct. The Freelancer Act is new because it wasn't clear that freelancers equal that subcontractor and freelancer meant the same thing, right? Freelancers are being treated differently. So yes, it's a clarification. It's supposed to kind of knit that up. and clean up this subcontractor versus freelancer, gig worker distinction. Because otherwise you're having gig workers that are being taken advantage of. And that's not good, right? And what's up, everybody in the chat? See everybody, some new people joining. Good to see you. Semi-eclectic said, for 5, says, knowing money is involved makes sense. Laws would come in and money talks to the end. Exactly. And when there's money at stake and people's livelihoods at stake, yeah, you have to regulate that. Because otherwise people are going to get fucked. And a lot of Japanese artists are going to get fucked because they're the ones making those models. Zyle Libertas for 2 says, would that affect talent commissioning assets? Yes, because that's a type of freelance work. So yes, it would. The talent is perceived, whether or not Niji and Hollow like it, if they are perceived as an employee or working under the authority of the actual corporation. So yes, and it applies to even individuals if they're, so long as they're operating under Japanese law, right, commissioning stuff. Now, where this is a gray area is cross-border. So if Niji is farming it out to Filipinos or to Indonesia, so if Niji is going cross-border, they may get away with this. If Niji is farming it out to Zimbabwe and they've got a bunch of like people in the mines crafting for them in Zimbabwe, well, it's going to be hard to enforce Zimbabwe law in Japan and Japanese law in Zimbabwe, right? This is the whole problem with international side. So the international law hasn't caught up, right? The international part is a problem, but this does help within Japan internally. It's something, right? It's something. It's better than nothing. It's not perfect. Yeah, if they're farming it out to Uyghur labor camps, that's not gonna, yeah, it will follow local laws. But Nancy, the problem is, how do you have a local law that clamps down on a foreign corporation? It's really hard, particularly if they're not providing a good. If it's a car company, you can just put a tariff on the car, right? Speaking of tariffs, I think Trump just said on Joe Rogan that he might get rid of the income tax in favor of tariffs. That would be fucking wild. But I would support that. But anyways, that said, I don't have a problem with tariffs via the income tax. It's one or the other. Fuck the income tax. But anyways, neither here nor there. You can put a tariff on a good. How the fuck are you going to stop a VTuber? You're going to block the internet? Like, it's really hard to stop a company that's providing VTubing, right? So what do? You block them on YouTube? Like, I don't get, like, it's really hard to regulate that. It's really hard to regulate that. Math Gaming for 20 euros says, can't this law be used by artists to scam corporations if you don't make a good rig for 2D? When the corporation wants to revise the work, the artists try to make the corpo pay for stuff they didn't do from the start. No, that's different. No, Math, if you're not following the order, you're not delivering what was ordered. That's different. And I don't think corporations are going to get mass scammed by a bunch of artists that are going to trick them by holding them ransom for stuff, because first of all, the corporation is just going to hire somebody else. Second of all, you're blackballed. So as an artist, like, I don't think it's going to happen, right? Also, they probably aren't paying out up front. So yeah, artists are going to get, like, if you try to fuck a corporation as an artist, first of all, you're going to get blacklisted. Second of all, they're not going to pay you everything up front. You're probably not getting your money. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, like, but whenever I commission art or anything else, I pay half up front and half at the end, right? I mean, it's fair. Or at least some sort of something like that. Maybe 30% up front and 30% in the middle, 30% at the end. Some sort of staggered. You don't lose everything. So the corporation, yeah, like Nancy says, maybe they lose the deposit, right? Okay, maybe they lose the initial amount, but they're not going to lose everything. I'm not smart. I'm doing what corporations do. I work for corporations. That's what they do. They don't pay up front. You think they pay up front? No, they're not idiots. They're not stupid. And they have the power. They have the leverage. You want to do work for them. So let's say you fuck them on one model. And let's say the model's expensive. Let's say it's $10,000 model, right? And you get $5,000 because they paid you 50% up front. You probably lost out on $100,000 because they would have hired you for 10 or 20 more jobs. So now you just played your fucking self. And who else is going to pay you that much money? Like, the corporations are going to pay you a good rate, and they're going to pay you consistently if you do a good job. Who else is going to pay you that? No, right? And yes, okay, yeah, maybe I'm thinking of it in a different way, but you know what? That's why I have my channel, Be Your Own Judge. That's why I try to teach you guys, do better, be smarter, right? Like, everybody can do this. I'm not special. It's not because I'm an attorney. You don't have to be an attorney to say, I'm going to give you some up front and some at the end. Just be confident and say that's normal, right? Meta SD said, I'm really concerned Cover is going evil. Rather, I can concern Cover is now under direct government scrutiny. That's never would have come to it. No. It's not bad because they're doing it in advance, and it's a good regulation, right? I think this is a good regulation. I think it's a positive move. I think that this is moving the society in Japan towards saying, look, VTubing is a sector of our economy. We need to make sure that we regulate this in the proper way, just like anything else, right? Simian Collector says, plus its Japan reputation means so much more. Exactly. So a Japanese artist is never going to do that. They'll be shamed. Mahu for 5,000 says, for better or for worse, do you think this may end up companies having upfront requirements that are harder for artists to meet due to them being more serious requests now, for better or for worse? No, I think that the companies are just going to be very specific. And here's the thing. If you don't want to take their deal, don't take it. Right? So if you don't want to take the deal, you think the corpo is ripping you off, it's not a good deal, don't work for them. And guess what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to pay more, right? They're going to have to pay more. If you think the corporation is fucking you, don't take their deal. You're not forced to, as a gig worker and a freelance worker, you're not forced to go with a corporation. You can go with somebody that appreciates your talents and is going to pay you an appropriate wage. Right? Walk away is always a choice. You're not a slave. You don't have to work for them. Now, will there be some artists that are willing to take shitty deals? Yeah, but they're going to get a shitty product, right? So you can have three things. You can do it quick, you can do it cheap, or you can do it well, but you can't have all three. That's a very common business saying, but it's very true, right? You can have something that's cheap, but it's not going to be either quick or it's not going to be both quick and the best, right? One of those things got to go. You get two max. Usually just one, but you get two max. You're never going to get all three, right? You can get something done fast and good, but it ain't going to be cheap, right? It's not going to be cheap. You get it done good. It's not going to be cheap, right? So choose your poison, and it's your choice. Once again, we all live in a life where we make our own choices, and we have to take agency for our own choices and fuck ups. And Cover owned its fuck up. And I think that as both a corporation and as people, right? In America, corporations are people. But beyond that, forget about the whole corporations being people. Owning your mistakes is a smart thing to do. Growing from them is a good thing to do. One mistake does not make a corporation evil, particularly if they acknowledge it and are willing to move ahead on it. Just like a person can fuck up, which we all do. Let's not pretend that corporations are the only ones fucking up. Indies fuck up too. Creators fuck up too. Creators create a whole fuck ton of drama too. And a lot of problems, especially in the VTubing sphere. Let's be real. Creators are fucking defaming each other left and right, breaking all sorts of rules. But if they say, hey, I fucked up, I did something wrong, I'm going to fix it, that's good. It's positive, right? Yeah. So that's what I had for today, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that one. I'm still catching up on my sleep, so I'm trying to get accustomed. But I do have this clip, which I needed to show. And this is a very good one from Mitchie and Melody, which is Mitchie nutted to Cotton's adult content.
Actually, I've always wondered this, right? I have some friends who work in like adult VA, and ever since then, I can't watch certain types of like videos anymore because I know it's them and I can hear their voice, and the fact that I know them, and I feel bad. Like I watch it to support them, but I can't to it because I'm like, that's my friend. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing it to a friend of mine.
I comprehend.
Have you ever felt that way?
I know what you're coming. I know where you're coming from. No. I mean, I still.
The Cotton incident? Yeah. Have I told you the story of the Cotton incident?
If they didn't put it out there to be heard and enjoyed, I'm just saying it's not weird, but please continue.
This is a long time ago, okay? Before I was in VShojo. I found this one video. Don't ask me why I was on it.
Okay, well, speaking to the mic, I'm gonna show it to staff. Okay,
it's a video of like a
I have the best polls on YouTube
with the who's the person's name? The girl, the blonde girl.
Chica? She's yellow.
No, the human girl. Human.
I don't know.
Vanessa.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, Vanessa. So there's like the security guard is a girl named Vanessa, and it was Vanessa x Freddy Fazbear. And
I'll look it up.
I was watching the video and I was like, damn, this is actually really good. It's well animated, well voice acted, everything was well done, good visuals, good audio, perfect. And then halfway through the video, as I was like, right, I just heard the Vanessa character say like, "Oh, I love your Freddy Fazballs," and I kind of like did not finish it, but it was a very funny story, you know. Did not finish, but good story. Fast forward to I joined VShojo. I was talking with Heavenly, and I told Heavenly this one story where it's like, yeah, that's me blue myself because that exact term blue me. And Heavenly's like, wait a minute, is it a Freddy Fazbear video? I was like, yeah, because he said Fazballs. He's like, no, that voice actor is Cutton. And I remember I told Cutton to say, I love your Freddy Fazballs. Ever since then, I can't. Okay, not my proudest.
I'll leave it on not my proudest nut. That was cursed knowledge I didn't need to have, but I now have, and I've now shared with you, my audience, guys. So listen, next time you're thinking about it, which, you know, as 50% of the chat says here, when I asked, have you ever felt bad gooning? 17% said yes, 20% say no, 49% said degenerate. Remember, you may feel bad, but you may just be.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping